Hello everybody and welcome to Azumi Game Season 2, Week 2. Got a few things to show you today, things that have changed since last week. I think we are pretty much at the point now where Azumi's moveset is pretty much complete. There's one other thing I'm possibly considering adding, and I will look into it next week to see if it's worth doing, but if it doesn't pan out, and if I don't like it, I'm probably gonna keep everything as is. The last thing I'm considering is possibly a power-up for shurikens to make them either do more damage or maybe be homing. That'd be a whole huge thing to put together. Don't know if it'll be possible. But two things were changed this week primarily, and I will show you both of them right now. Load up the game. You notice there's a 99 up here. I've moved shurikens out of using the ki bar, the stamina bar, the chi bar. I still haven't decided what the resource is going to be called, and they will now go back to the initial idea that I had but never implemented, but it was still buried in the code, of being based on pickups. So I gave Azumi another instance variable, which is the amount of shurikens held, and that is just a sprite font that matches that value. So you can see as I throw them, the number goes down. Obviously the UI is not final because it is very ugly right now. This is just for testing purposes because I wasn't sure if I was going to keep it or not, but I think I am. Because one of the things I've been noticing during testing, and you can see the other thing I added, is this spinny attack. So this will be an upgrade from the normal horizontal slash that you'll get from probably defeating one of the bosses if the structure of the game goes as I imagine it in my head. 4 levels, 3 of which will give you upgrades. This will probably be the last upgrade, so for the final level, instead of having a simple horizontal slash, you'll be upgraded to this pinwheel slash that actually hits a few times, which is kind of nice, and it can make mincemeat out of pretty much anything that either has a vertical value, like it's a tall enemy, you can hit it multiple times, because it's not just one hitbox. One pops in and out like 3 or 4 times, so it can stack damage. So if you can go up here, you can see you can chip them a little bit, which is pretty cool. Right now, if you just keep hitting the attack button, it'll just keep going. If you tap it once, it does a little burst. I might change it so that it takes a while before you can attack again, because right now you have no hurt box while you're doing this, so you're basically invincible. So as long as you're falling, you can just not get hit by anything, which maybe it'd be interesting to design around, because I know when this power-up is going to be implemented, so the final level could have some hazards that would need that kind of aerial invulnerability to make it work. But I already have aerial invulnerability with air dashing, so we will see how that goes. You can see I just kind of do multiple hits going right through them, which it's pretty fun. It is fun to like keep chip damage like that, especially because now that I got the hit stop working. As you hit multiple guys, each one gets a nice heavy hit stop, and it just feels fucking good. Like, damn, that feels fucking amazing. But yeah, that's the other one. But to go back to the shurikens, I was finding, because I changed the stamina meter last week to be a 0-based thing, so you can go under and it takes longer to recharge, that there would be moments where you would have no stamina. And before, it only ever took like maybe half a second to get your stamina up to where it needed to go, because if the dash took 4 stamina and you had 3, you couldn't expend it beyond 3. It would only take a couple seconds to get back up to 4 and get you going. This lets you use a move with less than the amount, but now I can't do anything stamina based for a little while until it hits that above 0% again. So it kind of gives you some moments where before you were kind of able to be safe, now you can't. So in order to attempt balancing that, I pulled the shurikens out of the stamina and gave them their own separate inventory, so using shurikens will no longer affect your stamina pool, and I'm gonna see if that helps with balance at all by having only 2 moves. Well, actually, I think right now it's only 2 moves: the dash and the stinger, both using your ki slash stamina slash chi slash whatever the fuck I'm gonna end up calling it. It'll let you manage it a bit better. I mean, dodging is the primary thing that I think it'll be used for. I think because this is a power-up as well. This is probably the first one you get. But there's one other thing I did for dashing, and before I had it that dashing kept your momentum going upwards. So if I dash, if I jump and then dash, you can see it keeps the upwards momentum going, but it also kept your downward momentum going. And I've changed that now, so if you're going down, it just makes you go straight forward. So I changed it from, in the code, so now it's a min value. So it's whatever it is, 0 or the negative values, because in 2D game engines, for whatever reason, going up is a negative value and going down is a positive value. So now the dash works that it keeps your momentum going up, but you'll always at least go straight forward, which makes it a bit more predictable. I felt there were some times where I wanted to dash because I wanted to get some movement, but I would just kind of fall faster because of the downward momentum I was already going. This makes the move a bit more predictable. Like you'll always at least go straight forward. Like your X value now pretty much is always the same. Like you're always going to go X amount forward. But now you also, if you time it with a jump, you can get some additional Y value, which could be good for more challenging puzzle aspects or hiding secrets later on. So those are the things that have changed. Actually, surprisingly, implementing this inventory thing for shurikens was incredibly difficult. Difficult's not the right word, time-consuming. Because initially I had everything running off the key, so I had to end up making new states, because before I had the combat all be one state, and the sword slashes and the ground-based shurikens were in the same state, and the air slash and the air shurikens were in the same state. But by changing the resource from key to a shuriken count, it actually interrupted with the animations, because if you had 0 shurikens left and you tried to use one, it would still go into the combat state, but since the conditions were now based on a resource you didn't have, you just froze in the animation instead of going back to the animation you're supposed to be in. Like it would just freeze in that upward value even when I started falling and things like that, in the air for instance. And then if you did it on the ground with nothing, you just freeze in place until you dodged out of it. Just the way the logic was set up, it didn't support the setup. So I had to make new states for each thing, so now it toggles into them properly. And if you have 0, I'm not going to go all the way down to 0, but with 0, it doesn't even enter the state at all, so it avoids the problem altogether. It's a better design. I was paying for my laziness earlier by not making those all separate states to begin with. They probably should have been. There was some things with, like this power-up, for example, was competing with the air shurikens and stuff. So it wasn't the best. It was not the best idea. Glad that I went back and fixed that. So it's a bit, there's more lines of code because there's more states now, but there's less events competing over each other, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is going to be Azumi's moveset. This will be what you have at the end game, possibly in the addition to a more powered up shuriken. But that's where we're at. So now that that's done, the next thing to do is to do some touch-ups. You can see there's this weird yellow box. And this is from, like, I think the second devlog way back in October. I made a placeholder sprite for, like, a cloud impact when she hits the ground to kind of give there a bit more weight to your falls. And this was before I implemented this, like, fall frame. But I turned it back on because I still want to add it. So it's just touching up some stuff. Like, I'll probably touch up this animation. It's still a little rough. When I imported it from the image editor, the blade effect kind of got a little too pixelated and it doesn't look as great as it did before. The smear for Azumi's frames look pretty good, though. I think I'll keep them like that. It definitely looks weird if you're doing this attack and you hit the last enemy, you can, like, see the smear because it slows down. You're just like, well, that looks fucking weird. But just at normal speed, it's fine, and I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, kind of just lost my train of thought. Not gonna lie. But yeah, I'm gonna touch that up with the cloud thing. I'm gonna touch that up. The sigil for the double jump, still pretty rough. Probably gonna go back in and fix that as well. And that's pretty much it. The only other thing that I did, and I did this a couple weeks ago, but I haven't talked about it in the devlog. Actually, a different file. Open. I don't think it's in my recents. No. Open this file, and that is here. I don't think I'm going to implement this in this game, but I'm just thinking in the future. And, God, I'm way zoomed in. I have been considering how to set up a dynamic scarf for future Azumi games. Probably not this one, because the sprites are all pretty much done, and to go back in and re-edit them to get the scarf that's baked in out and replace it with something here would be a pain in the ass. But I do plan on doing another Azumi game after this one that's kind of more in the style of a PS1 2D game like Mega Man X4 and X5, something in that kind of visual area. So I'm thinking about the future still, and I just kind of did some experiments. This one still doesn't work great. There's still way more to do, but I was just kind of experimenting with like pinning sprites to kind of make what appears to be kind of a dynamic cloth that follows you. This doesn't look very good yet. I did this when I was bored before I went to bed a couple days ago. Fucking Tio in the Discord, he's using a real game engine, and his works way better. He's trying to show me up. It's not true, but it's kind of true. So this has a lot more work to do, and this is really like way the fuck off in the future. I don't even know why I'm showing it right now. I just thought it looked kind of cool. But just I'm thinking about things going forward besides this game. You can see this collapses really bad because it's just a bunch of squares that are following each other, so they don't deform very well. There's definitely better ways to do it. But yeah, the next Azumi game will have a dynamic scarf come hell or high water, because that's fucking cool. And that's where we're at. That's this week 2, season 2, week 2 in the bag. The next couple days, I usually split up my weeks. The first 3 days I do game dev, and the last 3 days I do 3D. So I'm probably going to jump back in and keep working on that higher poly Azumi model that I was showing off on Twitter before. Maybe we can load it up quick. Shut up, Blender's fine. God. Why is it taking so long to open? There we go. So I got this higher polygon version of Azumi that's in the works. It has like actual geometry for the mouth and eyes, because before the model that I use right now, because in case you didn't know, all the sprites in the Azumi game are based on low poly 3D models, but I'm making a higher definition version. It's still pretty low poly if you look at the geometry. There's not much going on there, but because it's all geometry based, you can animate the expressions and stuff and move the mouth without having to paint pictures over and over again. You can see the bodies are deforming a little bit down there because the way shape keys work. You really shouldn't be doing shape keys until you're done modeling, and I just was experimenting with the head, and now I've put myself in a little bit of trouble, but there's easy ways to fix that. But yeah, this is what I'm probably going to do for the rest of the week, try and get this model further down the line and see where it goes. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys next week. Don't forget, patrons, you got a new build. You can try out the pinwheel slash. You can try out the new shurikens and test out the new dash over on Patreon. All it takes is $1 a month. You get access to beta builds. You can help develop the game and give me feedback and have access to cool new features that nobody else can try yet. So if that's your jam, I'd appreciate it. You have a good time. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.